I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, May the 9th, brought to you in part by Stay Tough Fencing. Sales representatives of Stay Tough offer personal assistance in product selection, planning and layout, as well as fence installation training. Stay strong, stay tight, stay tough with Stay Tough Fencing. Cattle market needs headroom. We'd like to get more for fat cattle, and we'd like to get more for big feeders going right into the feedlot, but something's got to give here. Our fat cattle are not seeming to get any higher, mostly because of box beef cutout values, and box beef fails to respond to spring. Still can't get over and stay over that $300 point. Your choice cuts and your choice dressed cattle are virtually the same price, around $295. So, and there's a lot of processing that goes from taking that choice dressed steer into box beef cutouts. So, we just don't have any room to go there. We've pretty much been trading in the same narrow range here for months and months. Now, at times, your futures market branches out in one direction or the other, but that's just because your Chicago traders get bored with it, and they're not making money unless it's moving. So they want to get things going a little bit more. But, your market, your fat cattle just aren't going to get any higher unless we see that dressed meat market go higher. And these big yearlings going into the feedlot are not going to get any higher unless your fat cattle get higher. They've got to. So, these record heavy carcass weights, they're about 30 pounds dressed heavier than a year ago. And they're especially heavy for this time of the year. We were supposed to be backing down and getting smaller and smaller, and then here in a few weeks take off again, but they're not getting any smaller. And these record heavy carcass weights for this time of year are offsetting the tight supplies because it's all about tonnage. Plus it's killing the market for trimmings. The fresh 50s, that fat trim that's coming off these big, heavy, obese, high quality grading carcasses, that trim, which normally they dump into lean ground beef to make it more palatable, that stuff is just getting lower and lower and lower all the time, while your fresh 90s, that meat from your real lean cows and bulls, continues to set near all-time record highs. And it's burger time. So we're a little bit frustrated with that. That is also hurting the price on our box beef cutout values, because that fat trim goes into that equation. So it's kind of, it's knocking that back a little bit. But I have to think when it gets consistently warmer here and we start getting graduation celebrations and Memorial Day celebrations and that kind of thing, that we'll see better demand for these middle meat cuts, to your good steaks to put on the grill, and that's going to bring that up some. It's got to. I mean, unless they're not showing it to us, and I believe that could be happening as much as anything. A lot of people don't realize that box beef cutout value that we pay so much attention to, it's more watered down than what our negotiated fat cattle market is. So think about that. But whenever whenever cattle feeders are on their fat cattle are losing record prices, we don't get any sympathy from the packers. They're still trying to buy the fat cattle cheaper every week. So we have to stay in there and stay tough, guys. But it's just, we've got to negotiate on these cattle. We've got to ask more for cattle. Now, we've seen here this week already, which everybody just kind of figured that we were going to lose a buck or two on our fat cattle market because we gained a couple bucks in the Southern Plains last week, and that's pretty much how it goes. But already this week, Monday afternoon, we saw your Northern Plains, which is really starting to get short of finished high-quality fat cattle right now here for a short period of time. We saw them jump out and buy some cattle there near steady on a Monday afternoon, And then on Wednesday morning, the Fed Cattle Exchange online bidding platform, they had an auction. They opened the bidding at 181. It was mostly cattle out of the Southern Plains. They saw aggressive bidding all the way up to 184, which would have been steady with last week, but the reserves were a bit higher than that. But at least we know the packers want to give steady money in the Southern Plains on a Wednesday morning for fat cattle. That, you would think, would give the few guys that sell cattle negotiated in Texas and Kansas a little bit of leverage to try to get some more money for their cattle, but we'll see what happens. But we can't keep paying over $2,000 even on stockers when we only have a hope of those fat cattle bringing $2,700. And a lot of people don't want to think about that. People don't want to make budgets in their household and things too. But, you know, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. But I would rather hold on to some big agey stockers to turn out on grass this summer at $2,000 than I would for some cattle going right into the feedlot at $2,300 or more. I just think, you know, those cattle that come off grass there late in the summer, they are the best feeding cattle of the whole year. Your feedlots know it. They make room for them. They desperately want them. And I don't like to prognosticate the market, but I still think that an 800-pound grass steer coming off, if there are any 800-pound steers coming off, we're making those cattle bigger all the time for the packers to help them get out of their jam. But I still think an 800-pound green grass steer coming off in late July or August has a good chance to bring closer to 280 than it does 250. And I think the 900-pound steers have a good chance of bringing closer to 260 than they do 240. Now, I may be washed up on that, but if I was a gambling man, which I kind of am, I would a whole lot rather do that than hope for the fat cattle market to hit $2 a pound. Let's talk about your board on Wednesday. June live cattle futures down $1.15. They go up one day and down the next, but it's in bigger hunks than what we typically see. Your live cattle are hunking from $1 to $1.50 up and down, where the feeder cattle are, you know, $1.50 to $2 up and down with everyday volley. But June live cattle down $1.15 at 176.47. August down 130 at 174.22. Your back months were down 95 cents to 157. May feeder cattle down 195 at 240.20. August feeder cattle down 202 at 250.240. And your back months on feeder cattle down 147 to down 205. It wasn't the grains that made the cattle cheaper there earlier in the week on the futures, because May corn is now cheaper than it was to open the week, down 8 1/4 cents a bushel on Wednesday at 445 1/2. May beans up 3 3/4 cents at 1216 1/2. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for May down 15 1/2 cents at 658 1/4. Fat cattle trade, didn't have any trade on negotiated in your direct trade of the 5 areas. And that also makes me think we have a good chance to get a little bit more for cattle this week. Did have a fat cattle auction, Sioux Falls Regional Livestock in Worthing, South Dakota. You can watch that sale every week on DVAuction.com. View and bid if you would like, if you get approved there. Choice steers in Worthing, South Dakota were $2 to $4 higher. Through the auction ring, they bring from 184 1/2 to 190.75, with some program bunches up to 190 150. We would like to see our direct market get closer to that. Box beef cutout values were lower. They were higher early in the week, and they've drifted back lower. Just like we talked early in this report, can't keep them up. Choice cuts 296.67, that was down 182. Selects down 409 at 288 1/4. Slaughter keeping a good pace, 367,000 through the first 3 days of the week. That's 7,000 more than last week, just 12,000 less than the same week a year ago. I talked the other day on our last visit a lot about the mandatory EID tags, and people just have a lot of confusion about that. And they're like, what? We really got to put tags in there? Yes. In 6 months, it's going to be mandatory you have an EID tag in there. And they said, well, it's just for interstate movement. Yes, you're supposed to have them in. Interstate movement is where you will get in trouble if you don't have them in. You're also supposed to have them in there if they change hands. But I guess if you got a closed herd, your cows never go to town until they go to slaughter, you're okay. But it is going to kill America's #1 sport, which is trading cows. It's going to make that very, very difficult. They're all going to have EID tags, and you're going to have to know what those numbers are and get them right with the cows if you're going to start trading cows around, or you could likely get into a lot of trouble. We've been having a lot of fun with the Punchy Pick of the Month contest. I think everybody looks forward to the end of the month when we have the Punchy Picks and then also the Kids Corral there. But get your Punchy Picks in here through the month. We keep them all separate and we look through them at the end of the month. All you got to do to enter is snap a picture, email it in at punchy@nationalbeefwire.com. Automatically entered to win. The grand prize on the Punchy Pick is some really cool stuff from Beaver Feed Company, which is a regional feed outfit there on the eastern edge of no man's land, or the Oklahoma Panhandle. They do a lot of business there. And then some cool stuff from Beaver County Stockyards. They've got the coolest caps in the business. And then of course you get that whole case of Therapies product, which everybody needs to try, guys. It's the revolutionary product that's scientifically proven. You got to check that out, guys. It's Punchy Pick of the Month contest. Now let's talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DVAuction. Late in the day on Wednesday, based on an 800-pound cash auction steer, sitting at 243.24. That was up 176 middle of the week. That's a big gain there. Your latest CME cash feeder cattle index is quite a ways back of that, so it's going to have to come up quite a bit. But latest available there was 239.45. Got a big sale coming up on Friday, guys. Payne County Stockyards in Perkins, Oklahoma. That's a smaller yard. They don't always have big runs, but they got a big run this week. A lot of wheat cattle coming off. It starts at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. They've got a free lunch coming up this Friday at 11:30. They'll be on DVAuction.com. Check them out. They've got 2,000 head on offer, 3 loads of fancy 9-weight steers. They've got 2 loads of replacement quality heifers coming through, 5 loads of steers off wheat. They've got some grazing yearlings in there. It's going to be a really, really nice offering, guys. Check them out at Payne County Stockyards in Perkins, Oklahoma. Let's talk about your big sales on Wednesday. OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma had 77.50 for their 2-day sale, but they were awfully light on calves on Tuesday. It was mostly feeder cattle on Wednesday, and feeder steers were $2 to $4 higher. Feeder heifers were fully steady. Calves were not well tested on Tuesday. OKC West is DVAuction broadcaster. They are your National Beef Wire stick-out sale of the day. Just finding a market, guys. This is your market there in the Southern Plains. 465 head of 7-weight steers, average 755 at 248.51. 1,320 head of 8-weight steers through the ring in El Reno, averaged 860 pounds with a weighted average price of 230.79. And almost 1,600 head of 9-weight steers. Are you kidding me? They average 958 at 214.99. Look at the heifers. 362 heifers weighing in the 6s. Average 647 at 241.74. 733 head of 7-weight heifers. Average 765 at 217.37. There were 681 head of 8-weight heifers. They averaged 861 at 209.92. And 447 head of 9-weight heifers. They averaged 931 at 202.39. I didn't give you any of the 10-weight steers. They had one drag of 216 head of 1,054-pound steers, bring 209.50. We got big steers coming in everywhere. How about Cherokee Sales Company in Cherokee, Oklahoma, western Oklahoma, guys? They had over 600 head of 10-weight steers, including 164 head of 1,013-pound steers that bring 221. Very impressive. Other individual quotes. How about Dodge City? Winter Livestock in Dodge had 50 head of steer calves. They weighed 540, bring 345. Big time quote. How about our friends up there in the Nebraska Sand Hills Bassett Livestock Auction? They had a humdinger of a sale. Big consignment of Monahan Herefords. I was up there one time when they sold those. Very impressive. I tell you what, there's a difference in them Herefords, and when you see the Monahans, you see there's a big difference in those dark red Herefords that come through. How about 256 head, 653-pound Hereford steers, bring 307.75. And then just a few lighter on the numbers on the lighter weight. 224 head of Monahan Hereford steers, weighed 607, bring 318.50. Very impressive. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Wednesday, your Macrocin, no BS. Top quote for the day from the Schooley family, the Bloomfield Livestock Market in Bloomfield, Iowa. They sell 64 steers, weigh 821, bring 259.75. And that's your feeder flash for Thursday.